Well, first thing is first, and that is that I no longer have a beard. I haven't even seen my own face for like 2 years. The reason why is because for Halloween, I was Stone Cold Steve Austin, 316, and that man has a goatee. So after the party was done, I figured for normal life, I can't just keep this goatee. It looks absurd on me. So it all had to come off. So now, clean shaven. Besides that, I'm going to show you how I made what is called like an art gallery wall or just a gallery wall inside of my own place. I'll explain why I did it, how I did it, the materials you need to do it, and if you choose to do it and follow kind of the same process that I did, you should be able to knock it all out in one day. I would say you will stay within the budget of, if I were to guess, I would say somewhere around 170 bucks. That's probably all you need. You could probably keep it less, you could go a little bit more, but it's budget friendly and it makes a really cool feature within your house. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. It's the same background I use in the majority of my YouTube videos. That's what you're seeing in the background. So let's get to it. So this is the gallery wall that I'm talking about. This is what you're seeing in the background behind me when I make the other videos. Obviously I have a lighting setup out here. I have my desk, my chair's right there. That's the whole point of this little inlet being here so that my head and my body are not covering any of the artwork when I make my videos. So there's a couple of components here. There's not a ton of them, but here they are. One is the background. I did not do paint. I did stick and peel and stick wallpaper, and that is, if I can get close enough, this one is textured. So if you're here in person, it's hard to pick up on camera, but it looks really cool. It has these little ridges and bumps to it, so it's better than just having straight black. The picture frames and all of that I got from a store called HomeSense. They are like a sister company of Home Goods, but if you have anything similar to that, or you could use Amazon to get different picture frames, that's where I got all of those from. The frames are slightly different from each other. Some of them are a standard black grain wood type style. The others are a darker weathered wood. You can see different ones here. This one's a little bit more polished. This one is a wood frame. I chose it because it gives a little bit more variety to what's going on with the other photo frames. I wanted something that had more of a bronze finish to it, and that's what this has. The other component is just the accent piece, which for me was the steer skull. I chose the steer skull because it fits in well with the grungy, darker type moody vibe that I wanted for this specific gallery wall. You can put whatever you want up there. If you wanted an anchor up there, go for it. If you wanted antlers, if you wanted maybe arrows or something like that, whatever, go crazy, whatever fits in with what you're trying to accomplish there. And then the last thing, what would be the last thing? Oh, the last thing is the photos that I used. So when you're doing your gallery wall, you probably want some type of theme where the colors are to complement each other, where the look of the photos complement each other. And for me, I wanted to make it all about travel. So I've taken different photos from around the world, photos that I enjoyed. This was the longest thing I did, was I spent hours looking up these photos and figuring out which ones I wanted. So each of them, as you can see, have a darker vibe to them. The undertones of them, the saturation has been pulled back. There's no real bright colors. It's either darker weather or a nighttime shot, as you can see, or the vibrance has been pulled out of the photo. I mean, these are, in real life, these are probably very bright red roses, but the photo editing has pulled that color away from it. And this one's more, stark white brick, but no real color in it. And that's why the skull fits in there so well, along with the black background. So first, I will tell you the supplies you need to make this happen. When you have those tools and those supplies, you should be able to fly through this, like I said, and this is a day project. You'll be done, and then it looks great afterwards. I should probably also mention why you would even want a gallery wall. I'll tell you why I did mine, and then maybe you have the same situation, or maybe it's just a really cool feature that you want to add into your house. But I'm going to flip this camera around and you will see why. So this wall is huge, and it was just bare white. Now over there, I've already done separate things with that living space, but over here, it was just absolutely blank. So in order to break up that boring, mundane wall there, rather than just stick up a couple photos, which I think everyone does, I wanted to make a piece that was really interesting and would go well as you move from this kitchen, which has a completely different vibe from that area. So this is a nice transition area. So if you have something similar to that, might work out for you. The first part is the wallpaper. This is what it looks like when it gets delivered to you. It's very hard to take this apart with one hand, but that's what it looks like. You literally just peel this off, and it's like a giant sticker. And you just put it on the wall and paste it however you want. This from Amazon is about $9 and per roll. And each roll is roughly, I think it's 10 feet by 1.5 feet, so you get plenty of it. It's cheap. So for this specific area, I did I can count by the ridges in the wall, but 4 pieces. So for 36 bucks, I did the whole background and completed that. So that's that one price. The frames, when you're looking at frames, obviously you can Google all this and look it up on Amazon or go to Home Goods. But each frame here was between, I'd say, 10 bucks to some of the, cooler wood ones were probably like $22. So that might be your biggest price tag when it comes to forming all of this out. The skull up there, the skull was cheap. I think it was in the teens. It might have been like 17, 18 bucks, but depending on what you get, that shouldn't be too pricey. Your best friends are going to be right here. These are your best friends for tools. There you go. Measuring tape, okay? Because if you're doing a space like this, then obviously you don't want it way off center over there, and you don't want it too close over here. So if you're trying to put it right in the center space between, let's say, that object, the couch, and the end of this kitchen here, well, you're gonna need this measuring tape to make sure that you're in the center. So that's what you're using this for. Just use a pencil along with it to mark your areas as you're measuring across. When you're putting up the wallpaper, this is definitely the most useful tool. So when you put the wallpaper up, obviously you're peeling it back from the adhesive that it comes with, and you're wanting to scrub down as you put the wallpaper up. And it's going to prevent all of the bubbles from forming in the wallpaper. If you do it with your hand, it's probably possible, but it's just way more difficult. So these squeegees, they're about $5 or $6. You can get them from Home Depot or Lowe's. And just as you're peeling the wallpaper off, so you'd put it up there, and you just move down to put it on evenly. That's it. I just did that 4 times with 4 different strips, and there it was. This is so, if you have this in your house, which you likely do, as you can see, I actually never cleaned mine up because I just didn't care, because the desk and the chair was always in front of it. But when you get down here, it's likely that you have trim on your walls. So you either have crown molding up there, which would be kind of like the baseboard trimming, but up there. So you might have crown molding, and then you have your baseboard. So when the wallpaper gets to that section and you need to make a clean cut, you're going to need an X-Acto knife. Depending on which X-Acto knife you get, these can run from, I'd say probably $5 to $20, depending on, how good they are, what movements they have and whatnot, but they're not a real expensive item, and these are insanely sharp, so I would not treat them the same way as you treat scissors or a normal knife. Just watch yourself as you're trimming those things up. But the same thing for any wall or corner. As you hang the wallpaper and put it up there, you just want to, trim along there so that you can actually, when you're putting the wallpaper up, you could get a little sloppy with it when you're putting it up. And you might cover both edges of the ceiling and the wall or something like that, because afterwards you just cut it and then peel it away. Obviously this wallpaper, this peel and stick, it's not going to ruin your walls when you take it off. So you can mess up a little bit and just correct everything with this X-Acto knife. And actually I'm going to give you a couple of tips as I think through them as I think back, because I did this a couple months ago. So I have to think back through the process and what hurdles I faced and how I got around them. One of them might be, I'm gonna show you, that you run into having an outlet in the area where you're trying to do this wallpaper. So how do you cut around that? How do you end up doing that? What I did, all of these cover plates, they always have some type of screw here, whether it's in the middle or you have one up here and one down here. You just take that off completely. You're not gonna hurt anything. The cover plate comes off. Underneath, you'll see some wires, but the actual outlet, the electrical outlet, is probably about that big. So the cover plate covers a lot more area than the actual indentation of where the electricals are. So when you take this off, you can put the wallpaper back down there. You cut with your X-Acto knife around the outlet area, and then you put the cover plate back on and everything will be mesh. It will look like you just did a perfect cut around. The other thing is the layout of the picture frames. So in order to actually make them look good, make them look like they're even, look like they're sitting where they're supposed to. What I did is, after I bought all of the frames that I knew I wanted to use, I took all of these and I laid them on the floor. And I just reorganized them a bunch of times until I figured out a layout that I actually liked. I wouldn't just start hanging them up, because you might run into some type of problems where it's not fitting absolutely correctly, and then you're gonna have to nail a bunch of holes in the wall and it's probably gonna mess everything up. So I would put it on the floor, lay them out in the arrangement that you want them. So you're just literally taking them from floor and then placing them on the spot where you want them. For picture frames, here's my point of advice when you are trying to make them as even as possible. Keep them like 2 inches. The gap between frames should be about 2 inches. If you run with that rule in as many places as you can, everything should look pretty good. Now, the frames aren't always going to follow in suit. They're going to have different shapes, and therefore it's going to throw off some of the measurements. But I started from bottom to top with laying these out. So as long as I knew that I had 2 inches right there, 2 inches here, 2 inches there, I knew that everything else would work fairly well. Even this might be like 3.5 inches or something, but it looks good. It looks like it was laid out properly. So that's a point of advice for hanging those. I should probably also mention that the reason I picked out these specific photos, not that you would do this type of style at all, but obviously I'm in real estate and I'm fascinated with European architecture. So all of these are not only travel photos, they are focused in on the architecture of different cities, whether it be London or Prague or something like that. With that being said, it's not always going to be possible to find the photos you want as a poster or something that a store is selling. So what you can do, you can go through, for me it was going through a bunch of travel vlogs. And these are photos that I thought were really cool, that were just, they're not really professionals, they just took photos while doing their travel vlog, and I copied them. So you just take the image, and what you can do is you can go down to an Office Depot or a Staples or a store that has printing services and give the photo to them, like a saved image from the computer, and say, I need the photo printed in this size. So after you already buy your frames, just have them adjust or scale the photo to whatever size you need for the frame. They can print those off, give them to you, and then there you go. You have your original photos for your wall that it's very unlikely anyone has ever seen on a wall before, because there's no store actually selling them as a photo frame. So there you have it. Now you know how I made this gallery wall in my place, the background to my YouTube videos. If you're looking to do something similar and there's a certain part of it I didn't cover in extreme detail, then just ask me in the comments section and I will try to answer that for you. But there you have it. That's how you do it. Good luck on your own.